Hi, everybody. Welcome to Institute's webinar this week that's titled Buckets, Vines, and Blooms. Please go ahead and mute yourself if you have not done so already. We will be taking questions throughout the webinar, so please use your chat box to list those questions so that we can pause and answer them as we go along this next hour. Joining me, I am pleased to introduce Erin Bemis, IOM. Erin currently serves as the Director of Chamber Relations for the Michigan Chamber of Commerce. She also serves as the Director of the Michigan Association of Chamber Professionals and is a speaker and trainer for Google's Grow with Google team. Having educated tens of thousands of attendees combined with over 20 years of experience working with small businesses, nonprofits, and associations, she's seen it all, the good, the bad, and as she says, the unmentionable. She holds degrees in marketing and business administration and is a graduate of the Institute for Organization Management. With that, I will pass it over to you, Erin. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thanks for having me. Hi, everybody, and happy Wednesday. We have successfully made it halfway through the week. We're almost to the end of month of May. I always like to celebrate the milestones of, yeah, we made it. So that's good. Thank you for that really brief introduction. I love it when you submit a bio and then they just read forever. And it's a crazy winding path, and we'll talk about that a little bit. But I'm coming to you from cloudy and today cold, yesterday hot northern Michigan. We don't like the weather here. We wait 5 minutes and then it'll change. So we're not too worried about that. I want to just tell you a little bit about myself. I see some names on the screen that are very familiar, that we go way back, and I have lots of new faces and initials as well. So let me just kind of introduce you and tell you a little bit about my path. I am a mother of 3 smelly and very tall teenage boys. They keep me on my toes. They literally are the light of my life, even when they are obnoxious and crazy. I actually just kicked out my middle child to his last day of high school. Big doings around here. So I've got one in college, one graduating high school next week, and the youngest will graduate next year. My husband and I have been together for 20 years, and between the three of us, sometimes I feel like there's 3 between my husband and I. It's him and me and us, but between the 2 of us, we own 3 small businesses. And, in my spare time, I have this thing called a job, and I love what I do. I have many hats that I wear. I am actually a consultant by trade. I started my professional career in nonprofits, eventually moving my way to Chamber of Commerce, where I was a director of a mid-sized chamber here in Michigan for many years. Won consecutive titles of Michigan Chamber of the Year, which was one of the highlights that I had while I was there. Moved on from there to Constant Contact, learning the ins and outs of email marketing, was a regional development director for them. And then back into the consulting space, which is where I picked up my clients, Google, where I am a national trainer for them. Many of you have been doing Google programming, probably working with either myself or someone from my team. And then also I wear 2 other hats. I'm the Director of Chamber Relations, as Caitlin mentioned, for the Michigan Chamber of Commerce. And I also am the Executive Director of MACP, our statewide association for chamber execs. So my clients now are primarily chambers of commerce and associations, as you can see and tell from that. But I think more importantly, you need to know me as a person. And anyone that knows me that's on here would tell you that I never like to miss out on the fun. I definitely live with, I wouldn't even call it FOMO. I tend to be the one that's creating it. I tend to be the ringleader a little bit. And professionally, I've kind of picked up a little bit of a reputation that's carried with me in that I'm really great at breaking things. And I do that intentionally. I am not usually satisfied with the status quo. I like to push limits. I like to look at things differently. I like to think outside the box. And I definitely would say that that's my style in life as a whole, that there's really no one bucket that I live in, which is what we're going to talk about today. And buckets and vines and blooms was just kind of my little creative spin on making sure that we're checking in on ourselves. And as I was asked to come up with a presentation for today that really had nothing to do with any of the things that I teach when I'm faculty for Institute. And so it really was a great opportunity for me to use a different side of my brain and think about what have I done that I can pass along to help? right? And make us think about our own lives. And especially right now with the pandemic, things are oddly similar now that we're 16, 17 months into this pandemic. My today is very strikingly similar to what my day was when the pandemic started. And at the same breath, I can also say that it is vastly different. And trying to find the balance between that and manage all of the different components, it's been an opportunity for all of us to learn and grow and get going. So as I dive in for today, this is really more discussion focused. We're not going to give you a ton of resources on the slide. I'm going to talk about a lot of different things that have helped me and hopefully things that are going to help you along your journey in whatever role you're in. And I know that we're covering associations and we're covering chambers, and it really doesn't matter for how we're talking about this because we're all in the same roles. We're leaders in our community because of the roles that we have. And our community might be our actual geographical location. Our community might also be more focused on one type of industry or business. And it's an opportunity for growth. But this is something that I look at every single day. This is on a card that was sent to me years ago by a professional friend and a peer and someone that I've really always just connected with. I walk away from every conversation with him with a new spin and thoughtful process. Even when we're working together, which we do now in my current role at the Michigan Chamber, we always take time to talk about personal and professional, because what I've really learned from him is that we're connected because we're people. And that's really the core. And I think that's what makes us successful. It's staying connected as humans and understanding that everyone else is human also, which means that it's not always smooth. Sometimes it's bumpy, sometimes it's scraggly, and you've got mountain lines to, crawl up and around, and it's messy. But at the core of it, we're all humans together. So I want you to think about this and maybe write it down, stick it on a Post-it note, and remind yourself that you're awesome. You're doing amazing things. It doesn't always feel that way. It doesn't always feel like we're having a win. It doesn't always have to be a win. It can be a success, right? And success doesn't necessarily mean that you're at the top of the podium. A success means that you've achieved your goals, or that you've stretched your boundaries, or that you've learned something new. So just remember that you too are a freaking magical unicorn every single day. Make that your mantra as you move forward. Today, as I go through all of these slides, and truly my slides are talking points, at the crux of everything that we're going to discuss, it's really a thoughtful approach looking at wants versus needs, which I think many of us have spent time, we've all heard this phrase, but when you really break it down and spend considerable time processing what that actually is, it's going to be vastly different based on you, right? It's your own unique set of circumstances that are going to get you there. And oftentimes we blur those lines. Well, I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to achieve this. I want to go here. I want to be a homeowner. I want to be a mother. I want to be single. It can be anything you want to be, right? But what do you actually need? And those needs are really different. Those needs are, I need strength. I need support. I need to breathe. I need to have space to be calm. One of the things that are a big need for me in my life, and it took me into my 40s to figure this out, I need to start my day with no one talking to me and just collecting my thoughts, giving myself a good center before I approach the world and everyone else in it, has just made a vast difference in the way that I can handle my day. If my day starts out in chaos, or my day starts out with other people in my space right out of the gate, it doesn't necessarily go that well. So things to think about as we move through. Now, 3 sections in this presentation. I'm going to spend about 10 to 12 minutes in each one. The first one, buckets. What's filling your buckets? And this is a look both professional and personal. What do you do that you love? What is it that gives you that passion and that drive? And have you spent time actually acknowledging that, thinking about it, and being able to identify it so that it can be a constant presence and a constant drive for you? What is it that makes you happy? What is it? It could be playing golf, maybe on your professional or on your personal side, maybe on your professional side too, but unless you're in the Golf Association of the United States, I don't suggest that, maybe on an everyday basis, right? Maybe it's, in a professional setting, maybe your bucket is helping people. Maybe your bucket is making connections. What is that bucket? What is it? What do you love to do? What do you like to do? What are you good at? And taking it kind of one step farther, it's, if you think about what are you actually good at, it's things that you love. And introspectively, you can do it the other way. What do you love? It's things that you do well. And so balancing those two together so that you can find fulfillment in everything that you're doing as you're reaching out and you're going through your to-do list at your office, and you've got all of these things, and you've got a board of directors that you're responding to, and you've got committees that you're working on, and you've got obligations to this organization and reports to file here, and your taxes are due, and oh, I got to do that review on the staff person, and we've got this event coming up, and it gets really, really busy. But what do you find fulfillment in? Being able to focus on what you love and identify that and focus on what you love about each of those individual pieces will make even those tasks that you don't enjoy a little bit better. I really encourage you to make a list of what these things are. And I want you to do it. Again, we're covering both professional and personal here today. Make a list. What fills your bucket? What makes you want to get out of bed every morning? What's your why? For me, I have two things in my personal life that are very clear and very easy for me. My why is my family, and my family being my children and my husband, my immediate household. That is my why, and I love to travel. There's a big world out there for me to see and experience and to do and to be a part of, and I want to take every opportunity that I can do that. Those are my personal ones. Those are very, very easy. My professional ones, what are my buckets? What fills me up? I like helping people. I've had a crazy journey. I have worked for major corporations. I've been a solopreneur. I am a consultant. I have worked for a nonprofit, and I have managed to flow through this path all based on the fact that I like helping people. I like providing opportunity for growth, and I like to be able to deliver skills that are going to make other people's life easier. All that to say, when it boil it down even farther on the professional side for me, I'm a people person, and I have not found better people than in the chamber and association world. And look at all the networking we do all the time, whether we're hosting networking or participating in networking. Networks are exactly the reason why I've been able to grow my career and carve the path and turn it into exactly what I want. It's because of my networks, my other people that have helped me get there. It's not just me. It's having all of these other hands helping, handing me the water to fill my bucket, to make me happier using my network. So it all comes together there. Highly encourage you, make a list, check it twice, go through what is actually making me happy. What do I want to do more of? Because if you can do more of what you love, you're going to be even more successful, because you're going to glow. You're going to feel more confident. You're going to have better skills and stronger opinions and everything else that is going to pull you back together. Now, once you have that bucket list, this is the quote I want you to think about all the time. So in front of me on my bulletin board is that you are a freaking magical unicorn. And behind me, if you can see this above my window, strategically placed so that I see it all the time, now that I'm on computer meetings constantly, what happens when you don't seize the moment? If you let something go by, if you say, oh, I can't do that, I can't. It's prioritizing the wants and the needs. What do you need to do versus what do you want to do? Making sure your needs are in front of you and that you're executing on those. They're your deliverables. That's what your reputation is standing on, those needs in your professional life. But your needs in your personal life are just as important, and you've got to have that balance. If you think about the opportunities that have come across from this pandemic for all of us, both sides of our bucket, our professional and personal sides, There's been a lot of moments that we can seize. And have you done that? I would say yes, for almost everybody. Universally, if you work for an association of any kind, Chamber of Commerce, you have seized the opportunity. I bet that you have let go of programming that was holding you back. I bet that you found an opportunity to use virtual meetings to still gather people without having expense attached to travel or your time in getting to a meeting or your time out of office. There's definitely opportunities. I hope that you have taken the opportunity to let go of all the stuff that you don't want, the stuff that wasn't working, or the stuff that, well, we've always done that, and let go of that, which also then creates more opportunity to do more of what you love, right? What are we really good at? What is our organization as a whole? Where are we super successful? And can I develop programming in that space? I hope this pandemic has helped you take that opportunity. We've all heard that we need balance in our life. This is no new concept. And I'm not talking about practicing yoga, which actually when we started this presentation, I was standing in tree pose because I work at a standing desk because that's another thing that I've had to do, right? That's a need for me. I need to stand. I can't sit. That's not my thing. But we have to, if we're really going to be successful in both sets of our lives, professional, personal, we have to actually practice the art of balance. What does it take to set boundaries? Can you say no? And that's, I purposely said it that way. Can you say no? There are some things that you cannot say no to. There are events that you're going to have in the morning that you need to go to. There are events that happen in the evening that you need to go to. There are events during the day. I really wish I were somewhere else doing something with my graduating senior right now, but I have a professional commitment. This is something that I'm doing. This is my choice. This is my need. I need to do this. My want, total different side. Both caps, finding the happy balance. Out of all of the crazy things that come with having a graduating senior, this is the one thing that I'm not there for. It's also the one thing that he doesn't want me there for. Therefore, it's a want on my part, not a need. Easy to make that distinction. But practicing that art of balance. Give up what you can. Cut out the clutter. Make sure that you're filling your bucket with the good stuff on both sides. It will really help you. So now let's talk about the vines. And for me, the vines, this is the stuff that's holding you back. These are the things that are making you sit at your desk longer, that are making you work longer hours. They're the things that you just don't want to do. That's what it really boils down to. You just don't want to do it. It's vines. There are these responsibilities, maybe. There are these obligations that you have. And what can you let go of? That's what we really need to focus on too. So again, I want you to make a list. What's holding you back? What are the chains that are keeping you connected, that are preventing you from doing all the things that fill your buckets? Is it a certain task that you're responsible for? Is it a team that you're on? Is it a committee that's sucking up your time? We don't want any of that. We want you to be able to let go of all the stuff that's taking up the time that you don't need to be spending. You need to be spending it focused on what you're really good at and what fills your buckets. It's going to help make you successful in the long run. So cutting those lines, that often means delegation. And vines, the things that are tying you down, the chains, it usually means it's cluttered too. And clutter is a whole nother problem in everything that we do, because we have clutter everywhere. You have clutter at home. I promise you, you do. Even if you're like me and really want your countertops clean at night in the kitchen, you're still going to have some clutter in your life. But can you cut out the clutter? Because that's another personal thing for me. I've learned that if I start the day with a clean kitchen, much more successful at home too, because my home office is about 4 steps from my kitchen. So I walk through it all the time. It needs to be clean. It's got to be a clear surface. It's kind of like making your bed. Some people want you to make your bed, clearing out the clutter. Is your desktop cluttered? Is your bookshelf cluttered? Is your to-do list cluttered? Is your programming cluttered? Where can you cut this out? And what can you let go of? You have most likely other people on your team that you work with. And your team maybe you're a solo leader in your organization. You're a one-man shop. Okay, that's okay, but you still have a team. Your team consists of your boards and your committees and your volunteers. What can you give them to take off your plate and trust them to do well? Maybe they do it differently, and that's got to be okay when we're talking about the art of delegation. Are they getting the job done? Because they might also do the job better than you could have to begin with. And are you trusting in them? Because maybe in letting go of your vine, the thing that's holding you back, that task, that item, whatever it is, it might fill someone else's bucket. Have you taken a good, clear picture at all of that? And can you get there? This is a quote that I just ran across a few days ago. And I'm big on quotes and thinking about things. And when I run across one that really gives me pause, there's something there that I need to be focused on. You don't always need a plan. Sometimes you just need to breathe and trust and let go to see what happens. This is hard for me. I am a list maker. I'm a task focused person. If it's not written down, it's probably not going to happen. Now I do a million other things throughout the day that aren't on there too, but I really stay focused. And sometimes that letting go piece, that's the hardest part for me. Being able to turn something over, call it a control freak, call it a whatever. But I know that I can do this well. I know that I can achieve this. Turning it over to somebody else means that I have to trust them and that I have to trust their competencies, and that in turning it over to them also shows I'm trusting you with something that's important to me, right? And that's sometimes a little hard to let go. You've got to breathe through it, finding the balance, being able to breathe when you do have vines that are there, figuring out how to let go of them. Sometimes that process means you just need to hit pause and breathe. Find that balance and work with it. This is a tool that I have found to be the most successful for me and pretty much every team that I've worked with. We've instituted this and utilized it in a variety of different forms. And it's stop, go, proceed with caution. Sometimes people call it red light, yellow light, green light. It is really assessing everything that you're doing. Maybe it's on a project. Maybe it's your office as a whole. I first tried this out when I was at the Chamber of Commerce. And like I said, I've used this now forever. We were struggling with finding what we all wanted to work on and finding what needed to get done versus what we wanted to get done, and realizing that sometimes we had to let go of programs or events or committees in order to make room for the new. And that constant change needs to happen to stay fresh, right? Well, the insert stop, go, proceed with caution. We made a list of absolutely everything that we did as our team for our office, every single function, a committee, an event, a program, all of it. Everything that we put our hands on was on that list. And then as a team, we went through and gave it this is something that we need to stop doing. Go, this is something that has to continue. Or yellow, proceed with caution, was we're going to keep doing it for now, but we're going to have an extremely close-up view on this particular piece because we're not sure if we should be doing this or not. We either need to make it better to make it in the go category, or we need to cut it and put it in the stop category. This gave us so much more focus and provided us the opportunity to look at things strategically instead of just as you can do a strategic plan. You can do all these other things that go along with it. But when you're actually looking at every single item on a list and saying yes, no, maybe, which is really what this comes down to, it gives you a whole new perspective on everything that you're doing for your organization. You can do this in life too, in your home side. A little bit harder to do there. You want to take it one step farther than just looking at your organization like this? Do it for each of your team members. This was something that in my next step, when I made it to my next team that I was on after Chamber World, that we started doing. We had everyone on the team write down absolutely everything that they did every day, all the time, all your responsibilities. And everyone on the team got to let go of something that they didn't like. They got to free up their space. Now, these were things that couldn't necessarily go away. For instance, mine was the email newsletter that was on my to-do list. I was responsible for it. And I know I said I work for an email marketing company, so don't tell them that. But I hated it. And it was a block for me. It was that vine. It was preventing me from doing all sorts of other things because I dreaded the task. It wasn't that I couldn't do it. It's that I didn't want to. Being able to pass that off to somebody else who was like, yeah, I'll do that. That's no problem. And she didn't blink an eyeball, and she made changes, and it was so much better than what I had been doing because she enjoyed it. It was fantastic. So we made sure everybody got to drop their thing that they didn't like, their vine, so to speak, right? What was that thing that was holding me back then? Email newsletter was sucking up too much time. I let go of it, and it freed me to move into other spaces. My coworker, she didn't want to answer anything at the front desk anymore. That personal interaction when someone walked in, it was too much for her. Well, I had no problem doing that. So I picked up that. The other one picked up the email newsletter. And from the third one, what she let go of, there wasn't a committee that she was in charge of that she didn't want, and the other gal picked up that. We just rotated through, and we all got so much happier that we started doing this twice a year. Okay, what's on our list? What do we want to let go of? What do we not want to work on? We became a really well-oiled machine. We functioned at high capacity because we were filling our buckets by letting go of the vines. Try this tool out. Use it. See if it works. It's a different analytical approach. It's sometimes all you need to do is see it in black and white on a piece of paper. So that's my advice for you there. Now let's talk about blooming. Actually, I should stop right here and see. Do we have any questions in the chat? I think I can pull that up. Let's pause. Oh, I got a slow load. The slow circle here. Caitlin, you might just have to help me out here.
Sure. Am I looking for just the chat?
Oh, look at all that, Nick. Hi, Nick.
You've got a lot of love coming your way.
Definitely sounds like a mom. Yeah, I'm a mom. Sorry. Let's see. Recordings. All right. It looks like I from what I can see, Caitlin, I think we're okay, right?
Yeah. As far as the questions go from attendees, we are doing just fine. If anything comes up, I'll let you know.
Okay, perfect. Well, then let's go into the bloom section, which maybe is my favorite part to talk about. Lifelong learning, right? Letting go of some of these things. Let's see. I think I skipped a slide in here. No, I didn't. I'm good. Learning in life, lifelong learning, constantly exposing yourself to new, constantly exposing yourself to great. What does it take to get there? Now, I want to really spend a lot of time in here and go through what really works, right? So learning in life is about, for me, it's not the lessons even. For me, it's more experience-based. Learning in life on your personal side might be a new skill. It might be a new hobby. Maybe it's becoming a homeowner, which is a whole new process. Maybe it's not being a homeowner. Maybe it's marriage. Maybe it's not being in marriage. Maybe it's being a mother. Maybe it's being a father. Maybe, I mean, for me, this year, one of my goals, I want to be better at golf. Golf is a thing for me. It's probably why I mentioned it earlier, and it popped into my head because it's a focus of mine. I am blocking time, making it a priority to be a better golfer. Doesn't mean I spend as much time at the driving range as I want, but I get out there and I play more. So that's good. And it also fills my bucket with people. On the professional side, there's a lot of opportunities there, right? So you have oodles and oodles and oodles of opportunities for professional development. You probably have a local network that you're connected to, whether if you're a local chamber of commerce, your little geographically grouped organizations, right? And so you get together once a quarter, once a year, whatever it is, and you share and you whatever else. Maybe you have digital pages and spaces that you're on. Lots of Facebook groups out there that we're all part of, right? Things like that. Maybe it's your statewide association. Maybe it's your national association. Maybe it's a regional state association. We have pockets up here, Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, Kentucky. We do things as state associations together in our own little pocket. I know WASTE is a big pocket out there, right? There's a New England Chamber Association group that's out there. So taking advantage of learning in life is not difficult, especially in the professional development world. The harder part is finding the professional development piece that actually fits you and is going to make you more successful and fills your buckets, right? So taking advantage of it, making sure that you are doing everything that you need to do to make yourself stronger and better. You need to be able to surround yourself with greatness. Now, surrounding yourself with greatness to me is really, it's about the wow, right? It's about the people that you walk away from a meeting and you go, man, I really like them, or whoa, he really made me think, or she is dynamic, or maybe it's she's just fun. It could be any of the above. Find those people, seek them out, and these people are going to be everywhere. These are going to be people that you run across at a baseball game. They're going to be people that you meet at a networking after hours event. Maybe it's at the conference that you've just attended in a professional setting. It can be anywhere, but find those people. Maybe it's someone that's on your board. I have this one board member from my chamber days, which are now quite a few years ago. My local guy, and he and I get together about once a quarter for lunch. And the reason that I seek him out is that he's so positive. He exudes positivity constantly. And he makes me, when I walk away, I just feel like I have been in a hug of positivity. And I have this great attitude moving forward. And it makes me want to do better. It makes me want to be positive on everyone else. Seek those people out. Seek out the people that make you question everything you do. Seek out the people that are going to make you laugh until your belly hurts. Seek you walk away from. And I don't know about you guys, fellow instructor, I will never forget my first 10 minutes of Bob Harris's class when I was in Institute. I walked out of class terrified that I was going to be fired. I mean, on the spot, going to let go. He outlined things for me. He presented them in a way that resonated, made sense. It was very matter of fact, very straightforward, to the point that I was like, I'm not going to have a job in a week. I mean, he just scared me, and I love him for it. He scared me in the best way to push me to be better, to get all my ducks in a row, to make sure that I was having everything done that had to be done, right? Leading that it was that governance structured class, and where's my 990, right? I freaked out, and where's my binder? And I went home and immediately went to work to getting all those things done. I should tell you a funny story too about Institute, because actually Nick, now that I know Nick's on here, I met Nick Kiefer, who is with the Goshen Area Chamber of Commerce in Indiana, in the Minneapolis airport. I started at my chamber on a Monday, on a Friday, first day of whatever, that's where it was. And I left for Institute on Sunday. And for those of you that have been through, you know this. One of the first things that they ask you is, from an instructor standpoint, is tell me about your organization. How many members do you have? How big's your budget? How many staff, right? Well, I can answer staff. That was easy. 2, me and one other person. But I didn't know anything else. But here I am flying out from Northern Michigan, connect through Minneapolis, and I see a gal next to me that has this folder open, and I see the Institute logo. And I'm like, oh, you're going to Institute too? She says, yeah. Make an instant connection, start yapping. And this dude from behind me, tap, tap, tap on my shoulder, because we're in those back-to-back chairs. And he says, hey, I'm in Institute too. Turns out we were all first years. She was in 1-2, we were in 1-1. Nick and I connected instantly and have been the greatest of friends. Nick, I hope you're actually listening to this. Truly the greatest of friends. From an airport conversation back in Minneapolis back in 2008. Those people, when you find your people, keep your people. And he and I have remained in contact, as almost all of my really tight-knit group from my Institute class, still my best network to pull back on. And I know I'm preaching to the choir with all of you guys, you know that, right? But there's also those same kind of networks and pockets of greatness in all the other groups that you're part of too. Again, both sides of your life, personal and professional. Surround yourself with greatness. It's going to just make things so much better. And honestly, it is the connections that matter, right? Networking is important. And I even mentioned that I am where I am and have what I have because of my network. It's not just the network though. I have a massive network, but it's my personal relationships within my network that some were very easy and natural, like mine and Next was very natural and easy. Some others I really had to work with. I either had to do a little bit of stalking and hounding to say like, I really want to spend more time with you, practically begging. And on the other side, some of them were because I was introduced to them by my network and expanded that way. Take advantage of that. The thing that I'll also say about lifelong learning, and this is really more on the professional side, I would say, is not just thinking outside the box, but don't do what everybody else does. Do what sets you apart. Do what makes you original and what makes you unique. And when it comes to that lifelong learning component, what does that mean? Well, again, we've got all those networks, right? Your local network, your statewide network, your national networks. Take an opportunity to do a different network. Try on a different pair of shoes and see how they fit. Because when you can borrow something from someone else and it's not like everyone else does it. For example, many of us have gone to ACCE. We at least know what ACCE is, right? It's our National Association of Chamber of Commerce Executives. But there's a National Association for Association Executives. So if you're a chamber executive, go to ASAE 1 year. Look at things through a different lens. And vice versa. Maybe you're the association exec here. Go to ACCE and see how they're doing things different. Beg, borrow, and steal. Rip off and duplicate. Case, right? We know all those things. Copy and steal everything. R&D, rip off and duplicate. All of those things. You will find a breath of fresh air. You might be hearing the same content at both of those conferences, but it's probably going to have a little bit of a different spin or a different, view on them. Do things differently. One of the things, and again, I'm pretty famous for this, and any of my Southern Midwest friends, Missouri, Arkansas, Oklahoma, you guys are down there, you have this awesome conference called Mako. And my chamber network from Institute, a lot of them are from that area of the nation. And so I got to know them, and I kept hearing them talk about Mako. And I'm like, what's this Mako, right? We have MACP and we have all these other things. What's this Mako? And so I kind of knew about Mako. And this 1 year I was like, I've got to do something different. I'm not going to go to ACCE this year. I just went last year. At that time too, we couldn't afford everything either. So we weren't doing a ton of professional development. I had to be very conscious about how we were spending our budget. And I'm also the belief that it's not just the executive that goes. Everyone on staff needs to have professional development. But professional development can look different for everybody. Maybe you're seeking out a meeting planner certificate for your programs and events person. Maybe you're sending them to, heck, it could be speaking school. Maybe it's a John Maxwell training. Maybe there's so many different trainings out there. Maybe it's a sales training for helping a sales manager or a membership person. So many different ways that you can do things. Don't necessarily keep in your lane. This is the one time I really want you to leave your lane and do things differently. I went to Mako, similar content, similar topics. We all have ambassador groups. We all have this. We all have that. We all have budgets. We all have boards. But they do things differently in the South than they do up here in the North. And so being able with a fresh set of ideas with something that was similar but different, it's what made me stand apart and our organization stand apart in the state of Michigan, because we were doing things differently than everyone else was. Well, it wasn't because I'm some genius. It was because I looked at the best of the best and borrowed that from them. So that's what I mean by think outside the box. Try a different pair of shoes on and see if you can actually get there. Location can be everything sometimes. Now, rounding this out, my other favorite quote. This is another greeting card that I have attached to my bulletin board that I look at every day. And I have been married for over 20 years. So having my husband actually get me something a card especially, that I stick to my bulletin board and look at every day, Nick will tell you it's an amazing thing when he finally gets it right. And this is what it says. And actually, I have it right here. I pulled it down so I can show you. I'm going to hold it up close. It's got these two little birds. You know, one's got her head a little cockeyed on it. And it says, "Don't be normal. You have a reputation to uphold. Do things your way. Have the confidence to know that you have fully, thoughtfully approached things so that you are able to continue to fill your bucket, fill the bucket of your organization, that you're able to let go of the things that's holding you back as an organization and also in your personal life. What do you need to grow there? And then focusing on that greatness, that lifelong learning component to it. I mean, we could have taken that whole thing about professional development that I just did and talked about golf lessons, right? Whatever it is that you need to work on, make sure you're spending and dedicating the time to actually achieving that. Getting there, being that, knowing that you're awesome, and remind yourself every day when you get up that you are that freaking magical unicorn. You have the ability to do great things. Sort out all the clutter, let go of, you've got to learn to let go. And it's a challenge for me too, I know that, but learn to let go. Make yourself a little bit happier and you're going to find a little bit more success. So it's been a journey through this pandemic. I don't think the journey's not complete. I think we still have a long way to go in terms of this whole pathway and where we're going, what's it going to look like and what's it going to be. My day-to-day right now is absolutely not what I designed my career to be. And I did design my career. I picked it, I worked for it, I was relentless in the pursuit of what I wanted. And I got there and I had an awesome 3-year run until COVID hit. And now I'm in my home office all the time. Remember when I said one of my buckets is travel? Home office doesn't always work so great for me. That time in the morning that I need to ground myself, very important. So take the time to identify what you can, that you can love more of, enjoy more of, let go of all the other stuff, and find a little bit more success. So hopefully, my goal today was just to make you guys think. Normally I'm talking about leadership development and marketing strategies and event planning and communications and marketing to the media. Those are all my topics at Institute. So maybe I'll see you at an upcoming class sometime soon. I actually hope that I do. In the meantime, if you ever want to reach out, here's my contact information. And I hope that I just gave you something to think about and it hopefully reminded you that you're doing an awesome job. Give yourself a pat on the back and go to lunch with that person that made a difference. It's really important to do so. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Erin. Really appreciate it. Do you have time for a question? I do have one.
I'm not going anywhere.
You. So you were talking about golfing, and I love golfing too. And I just got into it maybe in the last year and a half. But when you were talking about doing, things for yourself, it becomes really hard to prioritize something like golf that, makes you happy over obligations. And I guess it's not, from your presentation, supposed to make it any less important. So I'm wondering, how do you make it a priority to do that for yourself? And then how do you communicate it properly with other people?
That's a great question, right? That the communication is always the tricky part. My communication style is different depending on which hat I have on, right? If it's something in my personal life and I need to do it, my schedule is totally flexible. And especially now that I'm still remote, we're not back in our offices yet. And honestly, I don't even know when we're going to get there, right? So I have flexibility in my schedule. My job is more task focused than it is meeting focused. So I have a little bit of flexibility there. So I take advantage of that. I do have a lot of set meetings and obligations that I have to do for work. And I clearly plan around those for my game of golf, right? And I don't often have time. Last week, I only got to play one round of golf, but I got to the putting range once. I took my lunch break and I went out and hit balls, just putted for 20 minutes. By the time I drove over there and got home, I only had 20 minutes. It was just enough that I was still working towards that item, right? I wanted to play. Well, I did. I didn't necessarily play a whole round, but I still played. That filled a bucket, right? So doing it in that way. Communication-wise, I think is key when it comes to bigger stretches. Because if your bucket is, I'm going to go I'll tell you one of my big bucket list items here. I want to go hike Machu Picchu, and then from Machu Picchu, take the boat out to the Galapagos. And I am going to do this trip in the next 18 months. If anybody wants to come with me, reach out. We're going to plan it. We're going to go.
I just might get in on that.
I know, right? We'll have a lot of fun. But how do I do that? How do I plan around it? Well, communicating. I have told both of my managers on all of my professional sides. I mean, when I'm doing my own consulting, I can plan around anything, right? But I do have 2 managers that I work with. They need to know that. I've already told them sometime in the next 18 months, and I'm actually at like 16 months from when I told them, I'm going to do this trip, and it's going to take me out of the office for at least 2 weeks. I'm not going to skimp on time. I'm not going to cram it in. And they were both like, okay, great. When are you thinking? And I'm like, well, not in the next 6 months, because I've got a kid graduate, I've got all this other stuff going on, and we've got programming to do. But again, because I can plan farther out for something like that, that's a bigger bucket list, they're willing to work with me, because they also, your managers, your bosses, your board chairs, they know that they've got to allow you to do certain things too, to make you happy. Because if you're not happy, what happens? You leave. And then where are they at? They're at square one too, right? So I think making sure that the important people know first. I did tell my husband first. I have been known, and Nick can attest to this too. I may or may not have been known many times in major decisions in my life to make the major decision and then inform my family. That didn't go so well. It really did not go so well. A couple of the times it worked out to my benefit, but if there were some repercussions from that, you got to balance it. So, who needs to know and who again, that needs versus wants, who needs to know versus who wants to know. Anybody who wants to know, you don't have to tell them. If they need to know, that's what you do it, right? And I will say, when I'm going to be out of the office for an extended time, I set my count. There's 2 things that I can say back to, like the communicating and how do you actually do it. Work your calendar. When I am upcoming to a big event where I'm going to be unavailable for more than just a couple of days or for more than a week, I set my out of office ahead of time, like a week or 10 days in advance, that says, I am preparing to leave the office for a long-term time frame or something along those lines. You don't have to say what you're doing or where you're going, but in the context of that, you can also say, if there's something that you need done in the next 2 weeks, please let me know about it now. And then I will either make it happen or delegate it to someone else to make sure that you're not left behind. And I still want to make sure all my bases are covered. So that's the first thing. The other thing is, and this is not so much a big ticket item as it is, I use it in my everyday everything. I have a tool called Calendly that I use. It's free. It's online, calendly.com. And you can go in, and that's the only way that I will schedule meetings with people. If they need to have a phone conversation with me, if they need to actually, have a video chat with me, and it can, same thing, my bosses, all the way down to all my committee members and everybody else that I work with, all of the members of our association, everybody, use that link to schedule, because clearly things are going to pop up in your day that you have to do. There's fires that you have to address and you have to put them out. But if you can schedule out the meetings and know what's coming up, I can better plan forward too. That also forces me to use my digital calendar to go in as far in advance as I can and block off the times when I know I need to be at my son's track meet or when I'm going to go sailing in the Galapagos, right? Whatever that is, it's already blocked. The other thing, when you're using a Calendly or anything like that, a calendar planner like that, make sure you're using all the rules that are available. One of the rules that I have set is no one can place a meeting on my calendar for today. You can't set one for 24 hours. So I have at least 24 hours to get into my email and know that I've got one coming. Good tool for you to use.
Yeah, that's great. I just put a link to it for anyone interested in the chat box. That looks super great. We didn't have any other questions come in. So on that, thank you everyone so much for joining the Institute webinar this week. And of course, Erin, thank you for this super helpful information. I know it's definitely going to help me with balancing in both my personal and professional life. So we really, really appreciate you being here with us today.
Thanks for having me, and hopefully I'll see you on site as we get back to the Institute world. I'm scheduled for a couple of them, so hopefully
I love it. On that note, let's make sure everybody has their date saved for November 8th through 12th this year at our Centennial Institute site. Awesome. Well, got to put that on Calendly. Is that what it is?
Uh-huh.
Calendly. Awesome. Well, thank you again, everyone. I hope that everybody has a great rest of the day at work and in all that you are doing this afternoon. Goodbye, everyone.